The Galactic Exchange Program had only one rule. Send your best student. The Vorkal Empire sent their smartest scientist. The Xylos Federation sent their bravest warrior. Earth sent a 19-year-old Australian named Jake. He did not win any awards. He did not have top grades. He was just a kid from a small town who liked meat pies and cricket. But the program needed a volunteer. Jake was the only one who raised his hand. When the human shuttle docked with the alien cruiser Vengeance, the Vorkal commander laughed out loud. Commander Zorv had seen many species before. He had seen tall warriors and smart machines. He had never seen a human dressed in old boots and a faded tank top. Jake carried nothing except a half-empty water bottle and a small bag of instant coffee. He did not salute. He did not bow. He just looked around the massive metal ship and said, "Yeah, nah. This place is a bit dodgy, mate." The Vorkal guards did not understand the words, but they felt something strange. A small chill ran down Commander Zorv's 3 spines. He did not know why. The human looked weak. His arms were thin. His shoes were dirty. He had no weapons. So why did Zorv feel afraid? He pushed the feeling away. "Take the human to holding cell 7, Zorv ordered. "He will break in one day." The guards laughed. They grabbed Jake by the arm and pushed him down a long, dark hallway. Jake did not fight. He did not cry. He just walked slowly and looked at everything. The walls, the wires, the air vents. The guards locked him inside a small metal room. There was no window. There was one bed, one light, and no food. "Enjoy your new home, human," said the lead guard. The door closed with a loud hiss. Jake sat on the bed. He waited for 10 minutes. Then he stood up and started working. First, he found a loose wire near the light. He pulled it out carefully. He wrapped it around his water bottle. Within seconds, the water was warm. He drank it slowly. Second, he looked at the metal bed. It was bolted to the floor, but the bolts were loose. Jake kicked them 3 times. The bed came free. He turned it on its side. Now he had a chair and a table. Third, he looked at the air vent. It was small. Too small for a human. But Jake had an idea. He took off his shoelace. He tied something small to the end. Then he dropped it into the vent. He listened. He heard the sound of metal hitting metal. He smiled. 1 hour passed. A guard opened the door to check on Jake. The room was empty. The bed was moved. The light was broken. And Jake was gone. The guard ran to the commander. The human escaped. Zorv could not believe it. "Impossible," he said. "The room has no tools. No doors. No windows." He rushed to the holding area. He saw the empty room. He saw the missing wires. He saw the open vent. Then he heard a sound from the ship speakers. A voice. A human voice. "Testing, testing. Hey everyone. Anyone got a beer?" It was Jake. He had found the ship's intercom system. Every Vorkal on the ship heard him. Warriors stopped walking. Engineers stopped working. They all looked up at the speakers. No prisoner had ever done this before. No prisoner had ever escaped within 1 hour. No prisoner had ever laughed. Zorv slammed his fist against the wall. "Find him," he shouted. 50 guards ran through the ship. They searched every room, every hallway, every closet. But Jake was not hiding. He was walking. He moved through the air, vents like a snake. He had learned the ship's layout by listening to the guards earlier. Every word they said, he remembered. Every turn they took, he noted. The Vorkal thought he was weak. But Jake was not weak. He was just quiet. And a quiet Australian is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. After 2 hours, the guards found him in the food storage room. He was sitting on a crate, eating alien crackers and drinking water. He waved at them. "Took you long enough, boys." The guards grabbed him. They took him directly to Commander Zorv. Zorv stood in the main control room. His 4 red eyes burned with anger. "How did you escape?" he asked. Jake shrugged. "You left the vent screws loose. And your guards talked too much. I heard one say the intercom room is near the food storage." Zorv was silent. His crew looked at the floor. They were embarrassed. A weak human had made them look like fools. "You will regret this," Zorv said quietly. Jake smiled. "Yeah, nah. I don't think I will." Zorv did not know it yet. But he was right about one thing. Someone would regret this. It just was not going to be Jake. Commander Zorv made a decision. He would not let this human embarrass him again. He ordered 4 guards to watch Jake at all times. He ordered the air vent sealed. He ordered every loose wire removed from every room. The human will have nothing, Zorv said. No tools. No movement. No fun. The guards locked Jake in a new room. This room had no bed. No light. No vent. Just 4 metal walls and a floor. Jake sat in the dark. He did not complain. He did not shout. He just sat quietly and waited. The guards watched through a small camera. They saw nothing. The human did nothing. After 3 hours, one guard said, "Maybe he finally gave up." Another guard laughed. "Weak human. He knows he cannot win." But Jake was not giving up. He was thinking. He had noticed something small. When the guards brought him food, they opened the door for only 2 seconds. But in those 2 seconds, light came into the room. Jake had counted the light. It flickered 3 times before the door closed. That meant something. He just did not know what yet. On the second day, the guards brought his food. 1 tray. 1 cup of water. The guard opened the door. Light flickered. 1, 2, 3. The door closed. Jake ate slowly. Then he looked at the cup. It was made of thin metal. He smiled. He broke the cup against the wall. Now he had a sharp piece of metal. He hid it under his shirt. The guards did not see. That night, Jake used a metal piece to scratch the wall. He was not trying to escape. He was writing numbers. He was counting the time between guard changes. Every 4 hours, the guards changed. For 30 seconds, no one watched the camera. 30 seconds was not much time. But for Jake, 30 seconds was enough. On the third day, something changed. Jake asked to speak with Commander Zorv. The guards laughed. The commander does not talk to prisoners. Jake said, "Tell him I know about the coolant leak." The guards stopped laughing. They looked at each other. Then they left. 5 minutes later, the door opened. Commander Zorv stood outside. His 4 red eyes burned with anger. "What do you know about coolant?" Jake pointed at the wall. "Your ship is old, mate. I can hear it. Every night, there is a sound. A small hiss. Coming from the left side of this room. That is a coolant pipe. And it is leaking." Zorv's face changed. He looked at his engineers. The engineers looked at the floor. They knew the leak was there. They had known for months. But they had no way to fix it without shutting down the whole ship. "You are just a human," Zorv said. "What do you know about Vorkal technology?" Jake stood up. "I know nothing. But I know leaks. My uncle had a truck. It leaked for 3 years. He fixed it with tape and a stick." The Vorkal engineers laughed. "Tape and a stick? That is stupid." Jake smiled. "Maybe. But your ship will explode in 6 months. My uncle's truck is still running." Zorv was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Show me." They took Jake to the engine room. It was hot and loud. Pipes ran everywhere. Green liquid dripped from one small crack. The Vorkal engineers had tried everything. Welding, sealing, replacing. Nothing worked. Jake looked at the crack for 10 seconds. Then he took off his shirt. He tore a small strip of fabric. He wrapped it around the pipe. Then he took his belt and tightened it over the fabric. The dripping stopped. The engineers' mouths fell open. "That will not last," one said. Jake nodded. "It will last 3 months. That gives you time to find a real fix." Zorv stared at the pipe. The leak was gone. A human had fixed something his best engineers could not. He did not know whether to be angry or impressed. He chose angry. "Take him back to his room," Zorv ordered. But something had changed. The guards did not grab Jake roughly this time. They walked beside him. They did not push. That night, Jake did something new. He started talking to the guards through the door. Not about escape. Not about fighting. Just normal things. "What do you guys eat?" he asked. Silence. "Do you have sports here?" Silence. "I once saw a kangaroo fight a dog." True story. One guard laughed. He could not help it. "What is a kangaroo?" the guard asked. Jake smiled in the dark. He had them. For the next 2 hours, he told stories about Australia. About animals that box. About spiders that could kill a horse. About a place where the ground was so hot you could cook an egg on it. The guards listened like children. They forgot he was a prisoner. They forgot he was human. They just wanted to hear more. By the end of the night, one guard asked, "Is your planet always this crazy?" Jake said, "Mate, you have no idea." The next morning, Zorv checked the camera. He expected to see a broken human. Instead, he saw Jake sleeping peacefully. And the guards? They were outside the door, laughing quietly and trying to teach each other how to say day. Zorv felt that cold feeling again. The human was not fighting his guards. He was befriending them, and that was much more dangerous. By the fourth day, Commander Zorv had not slept. He stood in his private quarters, staring at a wall screen. On the screen was Jake. The human was sitting cross-legged on the floor of his cell. He was not trying to escape. He was not causing trouble. He was teaching 3 Vorkal guards how to play a card game using torn pieces of food packaging. The guards were laughing. One guard, a large warrior named Grull, had lost his helmet to Jake in a bet. Grull was now wearing the helmet on his left foot like a shoe. He was smiling. Zorv wanted to scream. He called his second-in-command, a female Vorkal named Vex. She was smart and cold and never smiled. "Tell me what is happening," Zorv said. Vex looked at the screen. Her face showed nothing. "The human is using something we do not understand," she said. "He calls it being a good bloke. I have studied human databases. It means friendly, trustworthy, someone who shares his food." Zorv turned to her. "Share food? We give him 1 meal a day." Vex nodded. "He saves half of it. Then he gives it to the guards when they look hungry. He also tells them stories. He asks about their families. He remembers every guard's name. There are 47 guards on this ship. He knows all 47 names." Zorv felt sick. That is not possible. He has been here only 4 days. He learned their names on day 2. Vex said. He asked each one when they brought his food. He said, "Day mate, what do they call you?" And they told him. Every single one. Zorv sat down heavily. He had been a commander for 50 years. He had fought in 12 wars. He had broken 3 alien species. But he had never seen anything like this. "What do we do?" he asked. Vex was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made Zorv's blood run cold. "It is too late, Commander. The guards no longer see him as a prisoner. They see him as a friend. Last night, Guard Grull brought him an extra blanket. Guard Triv gave him his own water bottle. They are breaking rules for him, and they do not even know they are doing it." Zorv stood up. "I will break him myself. Take me to his cell." When Zorv arrived at the cell, the guards outside stood straight. But Zorv noticed something. Their posture was wrong. They were not afraid of him anymore. They were annoyed. He had interrupted their card game. Zorv entered the cell. Jake looked up and smiled. "Day Commander, want a game of cards? I am teaching your boys how to play Go Fish." Zorv did not smile. "You think this is funny, human? You think you are winning?" Jake shrugged. "I am not trying to win, mate. I am just trying to pass the time. You are trying to turn my crew against me," Zorv said. Jake stood up slowly. He was taller than Zorv. Not by much, but enough. "Commander, your crew was already against you. I just gave them someone to talk to. When was the last time you asked Grull about his family? When was the last time you said thank you to Triv?" Zorv had no answer. He could not remember. He never asked. He never thanked. That was not how Vorkal commanders acted. "You do not understand our ways," Zorv said. Jake nodded. "You are right. I do not. But I understand people. And your people are tired. They are hungry. They miss their homes. They have been on this ship for 3 years, without a break. That is not an army, Commander. That is a prison." Zorv wanted to argue, but the words would not come. Because Jake was right, the Vorkal Empire had sent his crew on a 5-year mission. No breaks. No leaves. No contact with family. The crew was exhausted, and Zorv had not noticed. Or maybe he had noticed. Maybe he just did not care. Jake sat back down. "Look, I am not your enemy. I am just a kid who wanted to see space. You can keep me in this room forever. That is fine. But your crew will still be tired. Your ship will still be broken. And that coolant leak I fixed, it will come back. Because your engineers are too exhausted to think straight." Zorv stood in silence for a long time. Then he left without saying a word. That night, something strange happened. The guards did not lock Jake's door. They left it open. Jake looked at the open door. He looked at the guards. Grull smiled. "The commander did not say to lock it," Grull said. He also did not say you could leave. But he did not say you could not leave either. Jake understood. Zorv was giving him a test. Or maybe Zorv was giving himself a test. Jake stood up. He walked to the door. He stepped outside. No one stopped him. He walked down the hallway. No alarm. No guards running. He walked all the way to the food storage room. He made himself a sandwich. Then he walked back to his cell. He sat down and ate. Grull looked confused. You came back. You could have escaped. Jake shook his head. Why would I escape, mate? The food here is free. And the company is not bad. Grull laughed. Then he sat down next to Jake. They finished the card game. Zorv watched from the camera room. He did not know what to feel. The human could have run. He could have hidden. He could have tried to take over the ship. Instead, he made a sandwich and came back. No species in the galaxy had ever done that. Zorv leaned back in his chair for the first time in 50 years. He had no idea what to do next. On the 5th day, Commander Zorv woke up to a smell. It was not a normal ship smell. It was not metal or coolant or alien food. It was something warm, something rich, something that made his stomach growl. He followed the smell to the food storage room. What he saw stopped him cold. Jake had built a fire. Not a big fire. A small one. Inside a metal container. He was holding a metal stick over the flames. On the stick was bread. Not alien bread, human bread. Made from ground-up ration crackers and water. Jake was toasting it over an open flame inside a spaceship. What are you doing? Zorv shouted. Jake looked up. Making breakfast, mate. Want some? I call it campfire toast. Zorv looked at the fire. Then at the smoke alarm above. The alarm was covered with a plastic bag. You disabled my smoke detectors, Zorv said. Jake nodded. Yeah, nah. They were too loud. Annoying, you know. Zorv's hand started shaking. Not from fear. From anger. But also from something else. Hunger. The toast smelled really good. How did you start a fire on my ship? Zorv asked. Jake pointed to a small device on the floor. That thing in the wall. The one that makes heat for the food machines. I took out the heating element. Wrapped it in wire. Connected it to a battery from a guard's flashlight. Zorv closed his eyes. You stole a guard's flashlight. Borrowed, Jake said. Grull said I could. He was not using it. Zorv opened his eyes. He looked at Grull, who was standing nearby. Grull had a piece of toast in his mouth. He was chewing happily. Zorv wanted to punish everyone, but he did not know where to start. The human had broken 10 ship rules. He had started a fire. He had stolen equipment. He had corrupted his guards. And yet the toast was good. Zorv took a piece without thinking. He bit into it. It was warm. It was crunchy. It was the best thing he had ever eaten. Jake smiled. See, not so bad, right? Zorv chewed slowly. He did not answer, but he took another piece. That morning, something broke inside Zorv. Not his body. His mind. The walls he had built for 50 years started to crack. He had always believed Vorkal were superior. Stronger. Smarter. Better than every other species. But here was a human. No weapons, no armor, no special powers, and he had done more damage to Zorv's authority in 5 days than an entire army could do in 5 years. Zorv walked back to his quarters. He sat alone for an hour. Then Vex entered. Her face was still cold, but her voice was different, softer. Commander, the crew is asking for a meeting. A meeting? Zorv said. About what? Vex paused. About the human. They want to know if he can stay. Permanently, Zorv felt the ground move under him. His own crew. Asking to keep a prisoner. No, he said. He is leaving on the next shuttle. Vex shook her head. There's no next shuttle, Commander. The next supply ship comes in 8 months. Then he stays in his cell for 8 months, Zorv said. Vex looked at him for a long time. Then she said, You know that will not work. He will not stay in his cell. And even if he did, the crew would break him out. Zorv wanted to scream. Why? Why do they care about one weak human? Vex sat down across from him. She never sat down without permission. But today she did. Because he asked Grull about his daughter. Grull has not spoken about his daughter in 3 years. No one asked. Until the human asked. And Grull cried, Commander. He cried for the first time since we left home. Zorv said nothing. Because he gave Triv his water bottle when Triv was thirsty. Triv is a guard. The human is a prisoner. But the human shared anyway. Vex's voice cracked. Because last night, he asked me if I was okay. Me, the second in command. The cold one. He looked at me and said, You look tired, Vex. When did you last sleep? I could not remember, Commander. I could not remember the last time I slept. Zorv looked at his hands. They were old hands. Tired hands. He had served the Empire for 50 years. He had given everything. His youth, his family, his happiness. And what had the Empire given him? A broken ship, an exhausted crew, and a prisoner who made better toast than anyone in the galaxy. What do you want me to do? Zorv asked. His voice was small. Not like a commander, like an old man. Vex said, I do not know. But something has to change. The humans showed us that. That afternoon, Zorv went back to Jake's cell. The door was open. Jake was sitting on the floor, drawing something on the wall with a piece of burnt stick. It was a map of the ship. Zorv looked at it. Every room, every hallway, every vent, even the secret ones. The ones only commanders knew about. How? Zorv whispered. Jake pointed to the guards. They told me. Not on purpose. They just talk. I listen. Zorv sat down next to Jake. Not above him. Next to him. On the floor. Like equals. What do you want, human? Zorv asked. Jake stopped drawing. He turned to face Zorv. His eyes were not angry. They were not happy either. They were honest. I want to go home, mate. But not yet. First, I want to help you fix this ship. Not because I am good. Because your crew is good. They just need someone to remind them. Zorv looked at the map. Then at his hands. Then at Jake. He made a decision. A decision that would change everything. Okay, Zorv said. Show me. Commander Zorv did something no Vorkal commander had ever done. He gave a prisoner access to the entire ship. The crew was shocked. The officers were angry. But no one stopped him. Because deep down, everyone wanted to see what Jake would do next. Jake started working immediately. He did not try to escape. He did not send messages to Earth. He walked to the engine room and rolled up his sleeves. Right, he said. Let us fix this rusty bucket. The Vorkal engineers gathered around him. They were confused. They had spent years learning advanced science. And now they were taking orders from a 19-year-old who wore ripped boots. Jake pointed at the main engine. This thing makes a funny noise. Like a dying cow. My uncle's tractor made the same noise. It was the fuel line. One engineer said, Our fuel system is nothing like your tractor. Jake nodded. Probably not. But noise is noise. Show me the fuel line anyway. The engineer opened a panel. Jake looked inside. He saw a small valve. It was shaking. Just a little. Almost invisible. But Jake saw it. There, he said. That valve is loose. Tighten it. The engineer tightened the valve. The noise stopped. The engine ran smoother than it had in years. The engineers stared at Jake like he was a wizard. How did you know? One asked. Jake shrugged. I did not know. I guessed, but guessing works when you have nothing to lose. Word spread quickly. The human had fixed the engine noise. Then Jake fixed the water recycler. It had been leaking for months. The crew had been drinking recycled water that tasted like metal. Jake found a broken seal. He replaced it with a piece of rubber from his shoe. The water tasted clean again. Then he fixed the lights in the lower deck. They had been flickering for a year. Jake hit the control box with a metal pipe. The lights stopped flickering. Percussive maintenance, he called it. The Vorkal engineers wrote that down in their notebooks. By the end of the second day, Jake had fixed 7 things. 7 problems that had bothered the crew for months. Years in some cases. And he had done it with almost no tools. Just his hands, his eyes, and his strange human brain. Grull watched everything. He followed Jake like a shadow. Why do you help us? Grull asked. We captured you. We locked you in a cell. We gave you almost no food. Jake wiped his hands on his pants. Because you did not hurt me. You could have. You did not. That means something, mate. Grull did not understand. In Vorkal culture, prisoners were enemies. Enemies deserved pain. But Jake did not see it that way. Jake saw a crew of tired beings who missed their homes. Just like him, on the 3rd day of repairs, something unexpected happened. The ship's long-range communication system beeped. A message from Vorkal High Command. Zorv read it alone in his quarters. His face turned pale. He read it again. Then he called a meeting. All officers, all guards, and Jake. They gathered in the main control room. Zorv stood at the front. His voice was heavy. High Command has ordered us to attack a human colony. Next week, we are to destroy everything. No survivors. The room went silent. The crew looked at each other. Then they looked at Jake. Jake's face did not change. He stood very still. Why? He asked. Zorv looked at the floor. Because the Empire wants to send a message. Humans are becoming too powerful. Too confident. The Empire wants to remind you that you are weak. Jake was quiet for a long time. Then he said, and if you refuse? Zorv shook his head. We cannot refuse. They will send another ship. They will destroy us, and then destroy the colony. The crew started talking nervously. Some were scared. Some were angry. Some looked like they wanted to cry. Then Jake stepped forward. He walked to the front of the room. He stood next to Zorv. Not as a prisoner. As a partner. Do not attack the colony, Jake said. Attack me instead. Everyone stared. Zorv said, what do you mean? Jake said, tell High Command you found a dangerous human on board. Tell them he tried to take over the ship. Tell them you need to return to Vorkal space for a military trial. That will buy time. Months, maybe. Vex spoke up. But that is a lie. When we return, they will see the truth. Jake smiled. Then we make the truth hard to see. We stage a fight. We damage some rooms. We record fake battle reports. By the time they figure it out, your crew will be rested. Your ship will be fixed. And you will have a real choice. Not an order. Zorv thought about it. It was dangerous. If High Command discovered the lie, everyone would be executed. But the other option was worse. Attack innocent humans. Kill families. Destroy a colony. Zorv looked at his crew. He saw their faces. They did not want to attack. They were tired of war. Tired of killing. Tired of being tools for an empire that did not care about them. You are asking me to betray my empire, Zorv said to Jake. Jake shook his head. I am asking you to protect your crew. The Empire will forget you, but your crew will remember what you did today. Every single day for the rest of their lives. Zorv closed his eyes. He thought about Grull's daughter, about Vex's tired face, about the engineers who had not slept in years, about the toast, the warm, crunchy toast that tasted like home. He opened his eyes. All right, Zorv said. We do it your way, human. The crew cheered. Not loudly. They were too scared for loud cheers. But they smiled. They smiled for the first time in a very long time. Jake nodded. Good. Now let us go break some stuff. But only the stuff we can fix later. And for the first time, Commander Zorv laughed. A real laugh. Deep from his belly, he could not remember the last time he had laughed. But he knew one thing for certain. He would remember this moment forever. The fake battle took 3 days to set up. Jake and the crew worked together. They punched holes in walls. They broke windows. They set small fires and put them out quickly. They recorded fake screams and fake explosion sounds. Jake even let Grull throw him across a room. He landed on a table. The table broke. Jake got a cut on his arm. He did not cry. He just stood up and said, good. That looks real. Vex filmed everything. She sent the videos to High Command. The message said, dangerous human prisoner attempted escape. Ship damaged. Crew injured. Request permission to return to Vorkal space for trial. High Command answered within hours. Return immediately. Bring the human in chains. Zorv read the message. His heart was pounding. The lie had worked. But now came the hard part. They had to actually return to Vorkal space. And when they got there, they had to keep lying. One mistake. One wrong word. And everyone died. Jake sat in his cell. The door was open. He was not a prisoner anymore. Not really. But he stayed in the cell anyway. It felt safe. Grull came to visit. Are you scared, human? Grull asked. Jake nodded. Yeah, mate. A bit. But scared is good. Scared keeps you alive. Grull sat down next to him. I am scared too. I have a daughter. She is 5 years old. I have not seen her in 3 years. If I die on this mission, she will grow up without a father. Jake put a hand on Grull's shoulder. Then we do not die. Simple as that. Grull laughed. You make everything sound simple. Jake smiled. Because it is simple. People make it complicated. But survival is simple. Eat. Sleep. Help each other. The rest is just noise. The ship traveled for 2 weeks. During that time, Jake taught the crew more things. How to play cricket using a pipe and a rolled-up sock. How to tell jokes that made no sense but still made everyone laugh. How to make a hot drink from dried leaves found in the food storage. The crew loved him. Even the officers, who had been angry at first. Even Vex, who never smiled, smiled now. Small smiles. but real ones. Zorv watched it all. He saw his crew becoming something new. Not soldiers. Not prisoners. A family. And the center of that family was a 19-year-old human who had started as a prisoner and somehow become a friend. On the last day of the journey, Zorv called Jake to his quarters. When we arrive, they will put you in a real prison, Zorv said. A deep one. You will not see sunlight again. Jake nodded. I know. Then why are you not afraid? Jake thought for a moment. Because I trust you, Commander. You will not let them keep me there forever. Zorv was shocked. You trust me. I am the one who captured you. Jake shook his head. You are the one who let me fix your ship. You are the one who laughed at my jokes. You are the one who chose your crew over your empire. Yeah, I trust you. Zorv felt something wet on his face. Tears. He had not cried in 40 years. He wiped them quickly. You are a strange species, humans. Jake smiled. Yeah, nah. We are just dumb animals who learned how to be kind, that is all. The ship entered Vorkal space. High Command sent a boarding party. 20 heavily armed soldiers. They marched onto the ship. They looked at the damage. They looked at the crew. They looked at Jake, sitting calmly in his cell with chains on his wrists. Where is the human? The lead soldier asked. Zorv pointed. There. Take him. The soldiers grabbed Jake. They pulled him to his feet. Jake did not fight. He looked at Zorv. He looked at Grull. He looked at Vex. He nodded once. Then the soldiers took him away. The crew watched in silence. Grull was crying. Vex had her hand over her mouth. Zorv stood straight. His face was hard. But inside, he was already planning. Already thinking. Already building. Because Jake had taught him something important. One person cannot change everything. But one person can start something. And once it starts, it never stops. 3 months later, the Vorkal Empire fell. Not from war. Not from weapons. From the inside. Zorv and his crew told everyone about Jake. About the human who fixed their ship with a shoelace. Who shared his food with guards. Who made toast over fire in space. Who looked at enemies and saw friends. The story spread. Other crews heard it. Other commanders questioned their orders. Other soldiers put down their weapons. The Empire could not survive, not because it was weak, because it was unkind. And kindness, Jake had shown them, was the strongest weapon in the galaxy. Jake was freed after 6 months. He returned to Earth. He went back to his small town. He had a barbecue with his mates. He never told anyone the full story. He just said, yeah, nah. Space was all right. Food could be better. But sometimes, late at night, he looked up at the stars. And he smiled. Because he knew, somewhere out there, a Vorkal commander was drinking hot leaf juice. A guard named Grull was playing cricket with his daughter. And a cold officer named Vex was laughing. Really laughing. All because a dumb Australian kid got lost on the wrong ship. The galaxy never forgot Jake. They told stories about him for generations. The human who had no weapons. No army. No plan. Just a water bottle, a smile. And the strange human magic of being a good bloke. And every Vorkal child learned the same warning. Do not mess with Australians. They will fix your ship, steal your guards, and make you laugh until your empire falls apart. The end.